Hey guys, welcome back to my Golang web server tutorial, which focuses on the echo package. And this time we're going to create a JWT authentication using a JWT token. So we're going to create the token, a part of our login process. We're going to return to the user, and then we're going to create an endpoint which be guarded with a middleware that will check the validation of the token, and we'll see how the client can use it to validate and to access that endpoint. Now we're not going to dive deep into what is a JWT token and how it's structured. For that, I urge you, if you're not familiar with it, go and check out JWT.io for more deep information. Also, I'm going to add some links of videos that will explain it much better than I am in the description. So let's start. So first, let's go and bring the package we're going to use. So basically there is one main package that I usually use. And I'll also add it in the description. Let's set our Go path for our Go environment, and let's get Cool. Now let's import it here. And let's call the variable we're going to use this package on JWT. Cool. So now let's add the JWT token creation in our login process. For that, we're going to do a function called create JWT token. To receive nothing, it will return the string, which is the token, and an error if it will have errors. Okay, so the process to create a token is first to create the claims, and the claims sorry, the claims are the data in the payload of the token. For that, we want to create a structure which will hold our claims. So let's call them JWT claims, and let's say we want to use a name, which will be of type string, and it will be called name, and we want to use the default fields of JWT, which is can be accessed as standard claims. Cool. So now let's go back to our login, to our create JWT function, and create those claims. Let's define them, and now so let's say the name, we don't need to specify the key. So let's say the name will be Jack, and to create the standard claims, we need to create the object, and then in the standard claims we have an ID. So let's create that one. So ID will be main user ID, and we have, let's see, expires at, so let's do the expiration date. So for that we're going to use the time package. Will be now. Let's add it 24 hours. So yeah, and we'll convert it to Unix units. Perfect. So we have the claims. Oh, sorry. So now with those claims, let's create our token. It will not be encoded yet, so let's just create the token itself. And the way to create it is to call the new with claims method, which will take first the signing method, which will use as you can see, we have a bunch of options. We're going to use 512, and we want the claims. Nice. Now let's make sure it doesn't return. Yes, it returns only the token. Okay, so now we have the token. Now we can hash it. Oops. So let's sign it with our key, which will receive a byte of array. And this is the key. Now you obviously never do what I did here. You will store this key with string. This will hopefully will be a long string or even a private key on a file, on a server, on something of that matter. But for this demonstration, I think that will be enough. Sign string method will return us the token and an error if something happens. So let's handle the error. So if error is not nil, oops, let's return nothing, empty string, and error. And if everything is fine, let's return the token and nil. Cool. So now let's go and implement this and use this function in the login function. So we'll create the token, an error, and JWT token, and let's handle the error here. But this time we're going to log it. Yeah. Let's say error. Sorry. Creating JWT. Oops. Token. And let's add the error. Let's return a message to the user, which will just, oh come on, that's just going to say 500 error, internal server error. It will say oops, something. And the reason for that is you don't want to give too much information to the user. So let's do that. Yeah, I forgot the nil here. And if everything is okay, we will return the user the token. So let's do that. Yeah, so we have everything that we need. Let's build it. See, we have everything right. We do. Let's run our server. Now let's try to access it from our client. So this will be HTTPS on a local server, localhost 8000, and let's try to go to the login. Username will be Jack, and I have it plus. Oh, come on. And password is 1234. So let's try it. Cool, and we're getting at 200, and we have our token. So that worked. Let's see what our token have. Let's delete this one. Copy ours, and we have our name Jack and expiration date and the main user ID, which those two are the standard claims from the JWT package, and this is our own. And we can see it's the algorithm hash. Now notice that we have an invalid signature, and that's because on this side we are using the string, the secret's in secret, but if I will change it to mine, this will obviously be a valid token. And this is basically how how it's done. Cool. So now let's go to the second part, which will be using our JWT token to get access to an endpoint. So first, let's create this endpoint. Let's create a new group. We'll call it JWT group, not surprisingly. And let's call it JWT as an endpoint. Now let's create a handler for this group, and let's just say it will be also main, and it will be JWT main, which we need to create. So let's go on and create it. So let's call it JWT. It will be echo context returns an error, and let's say I return 200. And say you are on the secret JWT page. Cool. Now let's add the middleware to this group. So every endpoint in the JWT group will go through this middleware. So let's use the group and username a middleware by echo, which is a JWT with config, which will in its turn receive the configuration object. So let's add this. Yeah, it's JWT config, right? And this object have a bunch of configurations that we can set. The signing key is a must. This is the key that will the middleware will try to compare to hash again the third part of the token and compare it, sorry, the hash the first and the second part and compare it to the third part. and the signing method, which the default is HS256, but we use 512, so we will need to specify those. So let's do that. Let's say the signing method is HS12, and the key, the signing key, will be byte array of let's say my secret. Yeah, so we have everything. Let's build this. See we didn't have any mistakes. Run the server again, and now let's try to access this endpoint, which will be JWT main. Yeah. So we're getting the missing or invalid JWT in the request header. Okay, so the way to pass the JWT token is to add it to the authorization header with the prefix of bearer. So let's add our token. Let's try again. Cool. And we have access to our endpoint. Now let's change something in the token. Let's change the part of the claims. So let's say D, and we are not authorized. Cool. So that worked perfectly. Now what I want to show you is how to access those claims, and this can be a little bit tricky and annoying. So let's go and try to do it. So in our main JWT handler, let's go and try to access our claims. So the way Echo middleware work, it will take the token, it will take the first and the second part, decode it using base64, and put it on an object on the context called user. So let's get it from the context using the get method. Now let's go a little bit deeper and see what is this get method. So we can see it's an interface, and it is used by when you use it on the context, it will go to the store and use the key and take the object that is in the store, and the store is essentially a map of a string and an interface, meaning that what we got here, the user, is an interface. So now we need to typecast it to its origin structure, which is JWT token, right? Oh, sorry. So we need to do this, and need to typecast it on the user. And this token is will have the raw string, the signing method, the header, the claims, the signature, and if it's valid or not. Cool. So now we need to access the claims, right? So let's get those. So we need to use the token, and typecast them to map claims. Cool. Now we have the claims. Now we can log them. So let's do that. So let's say user name will be claim, let's call this claims name, which is will be Jack, and let's say user ID will be claims, and the key is GTI, which stands for JWT ID. Okay, so yeah, let's set a comma and let's try to run it again. Yeah, we need to delete the D that we added here. Oh, yeah. So the interface is actually a pointer. The token is of object is a pointer. So let's try to run it again. Now it should work. Cool, it worked. Now let's go and see the logs, and we see the username is Jack and the user ID is main user ID, which was the user ID. Cool. So couple points to note here. Now this is a very bad way to typecast in Go, because if it won't work, we will get a panic error and the server might crash. So in order to check it, you can use this type of syntax, because when you're typecasting in Go, you will also return a boolean with your new type, and you can check this boolean, and if it's true, you can do whatever you like with the claims, and on the other hand, you can check if it's false and then return a server error. Another thing to note is that claims here is actually an interface. Okay, so if you want to use the claims as a string, you will need to typecast them again as a string. Here we don't need because to do it, because print line is accepting interface. But if you do need to use it as a string, or if it's an integer, to use it as in its original form, you will need to typecast it again. And this is the annoying part I'll talk about. I mentioned before. Yeah, so this is it. Now we have an implementation of JWT token in our server, and you can obviously change it and play with it to see some other forms of implementation. But yeah, this is the main idea I want to show you, and this is it for this time. And next time I think that next time I'm going to refactor this whole code, because at this point this code grew to be very ugly in one file, and this is no way to code a scalable server. So yeah, next time I'm going to refactor it and split it into packages, and also see how to turn it into multi-threaded scalable server. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.